Hey guys, didn't see you there. Welcome back to another video. So something has happened. The streamer that you watch when Gork and Mason are offline actually made a video looking at one of my Razor games. And I learned a lot from this video. He had some really great advice for me regarding my play, even though it was actually my brother playing on my account. Still really good advice. But I thought it wasn't fair. I thought it wasn't fair that he took a look at one of my games and gave me his trade secrets, and I haven't returned the favor yet. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into one of his replays. Here we are. We have a BSJ Phantom Assassin game. Now I know from, playing with him for fun, party queue, we have a good time. He is actually a fairly decent PA, so I don't actually know if he made a lot of mistakes in this game, but the reason I selected this is because, number one, it's a loss, so chances are there's probably more that he could have done, so we'll probably find some good stuff in here. And then number two, this game is around the average rating that I could get into it, so I'm not in over my head on analyzing this one. Already, we get into this replay, and I would like to point something out that has absolutely nothing about BSJ. I would just like to bitch about this. In typical NA Dota fashion, we have 3 people disconnected right at the start of the game. People in this region, for some reason, like to start a game, then go to the bathroom. They start a game, then they go for a cigarette. Every single goddamn game, this happens. So if Brian came up to me and said, "Hey, Jenky boy, I lost this game because I was tilted because of a 3-person pre-game pause," I would actually be like, okay, all right, I'll look at another replay. Okay, so I realize what I'm about to say is going to sound like I'm being ironic, but I want you to believe me when I say that I'm not. I genuinely mean this. So occasionally I will do 2v2 practice with BSJ and a couple of friends just for fun to see what lanes beat what, just to get some practice and so forth. And I have to say, laning against him, I actually learned a lot. Like, he is so focused on getting every single last hit where his support is, where the enemy support is, and when somebody steps out of position, that when he should essentially punish. With that being said, something he said to me, I think in this clip we're going to see he's overcompensating for. So he said to me, "Jenkins, if you're playing carry," because I was playing carry in one of these practice games, if you're playing carry, you still want to pressure the enemies if you can. It's laning is just laning. It doesn't matter if you're a carry, you want to pressure. So here we can see him doing that, and I think, once again, the idea behind it is good. The idea behind it is smart. We can see here that this Tusk walks over here to the left, out of position, and he's got this dagger to work with. Maybe Enchantress is going to go Impetus, maybe Enchantress is going to go Enchant. It doesn't matter. This hero's really excellent at laning. So he sees this Tusk walk out of position away from the Hoodwink, and so we walk up for this trade. And then Tusk turns around, uses his tag team, Hoodwink gets 5 or 6 different hits with that tag team, and now BSJ is at 30% HP from that bad trade. And I imagine the reason that he did this is because once again, this guy's out of position and he's a carry, so he wants to pressure. Any role should be pressuring, but he looks at this Hoodwink, he sees 6 tangos, he looks at this Tusk, 3 tangos, and boots. So this guy's got to get punished for this, right? No regen build, no stats. He wants to punish this. But unfortunately, Enchantress just has 1 salve, and then BSJ only has 6 tangos to work with. So that's about his entire HP pool, these tangos, and he's got to salve up quickly because otherwise he's just going to be kept at 40% HP. So Enchantress does salve him. As a result of this, Froggus is obviously out of position. That's not BSJ's fault, but he ends up dying. The lane pushes in because of this, because the Enchantress is dead, we now have the Hoodwink and the Tusk able to double deny, so they're getting really good denies on BSJ here. They take a good trade. That was a really good trade. Like I said, BSJ is really good at punishing people for fucking up in lanes. And then Enchantress has to go pull the lane back, and once again, because BSJ is so hyper-focused on getting every single CS and punishing absolutely everything, he walks up out of position while the pull is happening, and he dies. And so the problem here, and the solution to this to me, is that when you look at the kill threat on the enemy team, it's Hoodwink Tusk. That's quite a lot of kill threat. You've got the tag team combo with the Acorn Shot. It works because these count as auto attacks. However, you're a PA,
if they ever go on you and they shard, you just Phantom Strike out. And then what, the Tusk is going to snowball on you into an Enchantress? I mean, it's weird. It's not going to work. And Enchantress is a type of lane-winning hero that's always going to win the lane eventually. She's going to get creeps. In fact, if you go ahead here, they actually get a Satyr. So, like, imagine if they waited until this point where they get a Satyr and they just safely farm. So, at this point, we are in lane recovery mode, and because of those early deaths, which, you know, it's not completely over. This Hoodwink is definitely going to have a good game because you can see she is top of net worth right now, but it's not the absolute worst. You can see here that even with these kills fed, if they try to go on BSJ, even without the Enchantress anywhere near, he just blinks away. Like, there's actually not very much kill threat on him in this lane. And so, ironically, the early deaths kind of forced him to play this in a way where they're not going to feed. And so I think basically the bottom line for what I would change in this lane is just wait for Enchantress to get a bit stronger. Just wait for the lane to progress a bit where you absolutely know that you can pressure them because you have your Blink Strike to get away, you know, because your Enchantress has Enchant plus Impetus. Like, if you wait for that point, I don't see how they win the lane. I don't see how they kill you. But then I also see it as much more consistent and guaranteed that you're going to be able to pressure them like you wanted to right at the start. So I gotta say, I was planning on just ripping into BSJ in this video for the most part, just to be funny, but there's actually something else that I saw him do in this replay that I absolutely have to commend him for. This is pretty cool. So he does this thing where, and I know he's a huge proponent of this, where if the enemy team has some hero that doesn't want to farm against you, and you're a carry, you can just go there and essentially fuck with that hero while farming. And it's a really good way of pressuring while farming at the same time, like pressure farming. I recall hearing him say that in one of his videos. So he does that here to some degree, but he realizes that he is a PA. He's actually not that safe to do this. Even though the anti-mage doesn't want to sit here 1v1 against him, what are the chances if the enemy team is good that he's actually just going to be sitting here in a 1v1 against the anti-mage? Look at this tower. This is always the first tower the enemy team takes. It's the easiest tower to take, and it opens up the most of the map. So he knows the enemy team wants to be down here already. So what he does is he messes with this anti-mage. He blinks away. Presumably, this guy's going to cry on his mic about how PA is stopping him from farming, and we should go gank the PA, etc. Anti-mage walks up. Why would this guy be walking up unless there were people behind him? Let's actually check. Oh, looks like Pango's rotating towards, and then he goes top. So he forces rotations bot by being like, hey, look how juicy I am, come kill me, and then he goes top. Also, the fact that the anti-mage can't farm against a PA, that definitely helps. But this, in my opinion, is really nice. This is absolutely the way to force the enemy team around and waste their time in a game where if they just ball at all of your towers, you probably just lose. Here we are, like 6 seconds after that clip where I'm commending him, and he makes a big oopsie. So I've seen this before with his play. This is what people would call a classic BSJ. I think what he's doing here is actually quite nice. The fact that he is pushing with this catapult, he's realizing that, you know, the enemy team is winning. They're running around and killing them. Like, they need more space to farm. The Void Spirit's here, so he feels fairly safe doing this. And so, basically, he rushes in, and then he dies. Okay, so this looks really sad. You know, he dies to the Hoodwink thing very slowly and painfully. And we'll go back and watch exactly why this happened. Maybe because of tilt or whatever, he's rushing into this tower, and his Dark Willow is all the way over here, smoked. So they're getting ready to come and push this, but he's going literally 2 to 3 seconds too early. If he just waits a fraction of a second for them to get into position for him to push this, you know, you could argue, like, maybe this is supposed to be Mars pushing this, maybe Void Spirit should be closer or whatever, but he has a team smoking to him, and he's rushing in and pushing this, and this creep wave is not about to die. You know, these creeps will tank for the catapult just fine. And so, the classic BSJ tilt rushing in, and now we have the Pangolier rolling, and this team fight starts. He's already dead before anybody can press anything. So, classic BSJ fashion, essentially doing the right thing, but doing it way more quickly than his team can actually be ready to do that thing. One small thing that I do want to point out that kind of sucks and is just a side effect of the game kind of being so rough up until this point is that here we have an ancient stack that BSJ actually stacks for himself, and he's getting ready to farm. So he walks over here and he presses blur to take this, just to be efficient, just so he doesn't take a lot of damage on this. But we can see, because of this lack of blur, he plays it very safe, and he jumps in. However, it's not safe enough. Whoever this guy is, Lies, rank 65, was just had his number. He was just ready, and actually solo kills him, which is very bad. It's very bad. If you get solo killed as a carry, when you have your Battle Fury and your top of net worth on your team, that can probably happen once or twice, and you probably lose the game. So it's very unfortunate. You could argue that the play was maybe to just, like, literally dagger the wave if you don't have blur, and then go back to this triangle and farm that again. Or maybe literally just not even farm it in retrospect, because the enemy team was just on point with killing him anytime he stepped out of his boundary where his team felt safe within that boundary farming. So I'm realizing in watching this replay how good of a player BSJ is when it comes to adjusting depending on the mistakes that he's already made in the game. And I didn't watch this game on stream, so I don't know what he was saying about this, but I imagine, given how he is, he was probably very vocal about the stuff that he did wrong and about how he's so stupid and he needs to adjust and et cetera, et cetera. I'm sure he was very vocal about this, but we can see that the moment he respawns after that horrible solo kill top, which, by the way, Brian, was absolutely pathetic. You got killed by Lies Dota. For God's sakes, the guy probably thinks you're a complete chump. In fact, he was messaging me, he thinks you're a chump. You can see that instead of farming away from his team, he realizes that the only place he's going to be able to farm is near his team. And so this lets him also get involved with kills, which I also think is a way that he can realistically come back into the game. It looks like just farming until he gets his BKB isn't going to happen. He's being forced to fight before his timing, and it's kind of the only option that he has left. But as a result of adjusting, they actually get a couple of pretty easy kills here, and, you know, it's something. So I was just kind of thinking of something as I was watching this tower push here that is happening at 23 minutes into the game. BSJ and his team essentially realizing that the enemy team has full control of the map. They realize they absolutely need to take this tower. That solo kill on him resulted because of this tower being alive. And I'm just realizing that if that earlier play where he rushed a little bit and died in front of the tower with the catapult, if that had succeeded and there wasn't any rush there, this tower would be dead and he wouldn't have gotten solo killed as a result. So basically, all I'm saying, and this is not a BSJ-centric thing, all I'm saying is that this is a good example. The solo kill on him is a good example of the nature of how things can snowball in Dota and turn out to be really bad in the future, even though it's a small mistake in the present. So a lot of the rest of this game, I'll put it on, 8 or 16x. A lot of the rest of this game is basically BSJ trying desperately to farm a rapier with his BKB, using his BKB to extend the range which he can farm safely. And I think this is actually the correct idea. But that being said, I mean, you have to get a rapier in this game, right? Is there really much to analyze past the early mistakes? I don't think so. It's just for fun. But, the early mistakes definitely did not help. That's for sure. Anyway, that's it. That is the whole replay. We will only do one. Otherwise, we will be here all week, because if you look at BSJ's page, there are a lot of losses. I believe he is attempting to get rank 69, so he is intentionally throwing games and griefing. I would take a look at that. If there's any Valve employees watching, maybe Gaben. I know you watch some of my videos, not the Pudge ones, clearly, otherwise he would get buffs. But in any case, thank you guys for watching. Thank you to BSJ for the coaching on your video. Genuinely, I learned a lot from the video. I will leave a link to that in the description, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video.